These are the tools that you're going to need to do your serving. First off, start nice pair of Spectra scissors. Make sure you cut a nice clean edge on your Spectra. Second thing I like to use, this is an X-Acto knife. Get an X-Acto knife, any hardware store, Michael's, arts and crafts store. I like to have a bunch of replacement blades handy. Third thing you're going to need, this is just a piece of 27-pound single strand wire made into a loop. I actually crimped a little loop on the end for my finger to make it easier to pull the line through. You have your assortment of rigging needles here, from small to big in your rigging needles. The small ones are for doing your lighter line. If you're using 50-pound braid, you don't want to use one of the big needles on the 50-pound braid because the braid doesn't open up on the inside as much. As well as they're all specifically designed on the end here to stick different size monos or fluorocarbons inside to run it up inside of your line. They have from 20-pound up to, this is a 200-pound needle. They do have rigging needles up to 400 and 500 pound, which I do not have here in my set. These next two needles right here are your loop needles. These are great for opening up the Spectra if you want to open it up before you run something inside, just to loosen up the braid a little bit. Also for making loops. These are really nice tools to make loops with. Makes it really easy. The third tool here that I have is called a latch key. Latch keys are good for doing loops as well as doing hollow-to-hollow connections. Once again, you can also use your loop needles to do hollow connections as well. So we have all three. We have full sets of the needles, all made by DeHo. You can order them from us here at Blackwater. The next tool you're going to need is probably going to be the only one that's going to be a little more difficult to get your hands on. This is a bowstring server. This actually comes from the archery industry. Mine is filled with a 20-pound Spectra. The reason I like using a 20-pound Spectra fiber here is when you actually are doing the serving, it's a very small diameter. So when you are adding two layers of the material on top of each other, on top of your Spectra and your mono, it still creates a very small connection. Guys do use 50-pound, and some guys do use some other line like dental floss, and heard a couple other things used to do serving. But I really like the 20-pound Spectra just because it is very strong. It stacks really nice up next to each other when you wrap it around and lay it up next to each other, as well as it's strong. Next thing you're going to need, I like having two dowels handy. I've wrapped mine with little pieces of finger tape. Your Spectra fiber is really slick, so that tape just helps get you a bite onto the Spectra fiber itself. Helps you pull a little bit. And the last thing I like having handy, are emery boards. You're going to have a coarse, a medium, and a fine. The coarse, getting a bunch of the bulk burrs off of your edge of your mono or your fluorocarbon before you start the serving process. And then you're just going to work them down finer until you're pretty much going to make a smooth piece of smooth edge on the end of your fluorocarbon. If you do it good enough, you can actually, heavy enough line, 60-pound and above, you can actually not use a needle if you do get it smooth enough. It won't catch an edge on there. So that's pretty much all you're going to need to do your serving.